Welcome to the Artist Work Ethic Podcast. I'm Mike Pelak. I'm a screenwriter and filmmaker who's always looking to maximize my time and potential as I work to break in. In this podcast, I talk to artists of all kinds who have seen success in their fields about their process, habits, and work ethic. Today on the show is Marko Desantis. Marko is a founding member and guitarist of the band Sugarcult, and he's also played with the bands Bad Astronaut, the Ataris, and the Swingin Utters. Sugarcult has sold over 1 million records worldwide and toured the world with Green Day and Blink-182. In addition to Sugarcult, Marko is a DJ and teaches music business at a ton of different schools and colleges. This week, Sugarcult is releasing the 20th anniversary edition of their record Start Static, and it comes with some new limited edition vinyl, there's new merch out there, and 3 new bonus tracks, so go check that out. All right, Marko, thank you for coming on with me today.
Dude, thanks for having me.
So you're a founding member of Sugarcult. You played in Bad Astronaut with Joey Cape, a stint with the Ataris. You're a DJ who's performed all over the world. You teach at a ton of different colleges and schools. And I think that's just scratching the surface.
Probably.
How do you keep that drive up?
Oh, man. Honestly, it's probably, I don't think I have to keep the drive up. I think the drive is what keeps me up. You know what I mean? I feel like probably the reason I've done so many things is I just can't help it. You know, it's like, it's just, it's just an energy and kind of an attitude of, I don't know how, it was instilled in me, but somehow I just kind of have always had this notion of like, dude, this is not a dress rehearsal, kind of have this attitude of like carpe diem and just get rad, because it's like, I don't live my life in this weird, like gloomy way where I'm like, oh, one day we're going to die. I don't go for the like memento mori where I constantly remind myself that this is finite, because that's just a bum out. But like, I think somewhere inside me just feels like the odds of us being here are so like crazy, and here we are like floating on this rock through space with this chance to kind of like do stuff. So it just kind of propels you to want to do something interesting rather than sort of take the like the more passive, boring route. If you're lucky enough to have something that you love that you gravitate towards, then like why not run in that direction?
Yeah. Totally.
And I don't understand. It perplexed me when I was a kid, and it still kind of baffles my mind now. Like, I don't understand why somebody would like cut their aspirations short just because that's what they think you're supposed to do when you grow up or something like that. It's like, I've always had this sort of like attitude where like, I'm lucky enough to be obsessed with music. I'm lucky that there is a music industry at all. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that you can actually like, this is something we all started out doing just because you just kind of go for it. I heard this term. It said like crash and learn, don't crash and burn. And I think a lot of people, they try something and then it falls apart and then they go, oh, well, if I can try it. So I guess it's not for me.
Yep.
I'm too stubborn. I'm like, oh, well, no, I'll never learn. I'll just keep on going and like trying and like, revising it, maybe trying it a little bit better, paying attention, looking around at your friends, your own natural resources of your friends and go, okay, what are they doing that I'm not doing? Or what do I wish they were doing? And how can I be the change I want to see? How can I be the thing that I lament that I'm not seeing happening around me?
Totally. And we'll touch on perseverance in a few minutes, but going back to early on, what kind of work ethic did you and Sugarcult, utilize as you were working to break in? And then how did you keep that up, through that decade?
Well, I mean, Sugarcult is a prime example of like military discipline and like unbreakable work ethic. I had been in a lot of bands before Sugarcult, to be fair. And, some bands that like probably would have, should have, could have made it. But, the work ethic with Sugarcult, for me, it was kind of a Hail Mary. Like I had already played in bands for a while and I had like literally been frustrated because like one band didn't work out because the singer died. Another band didn't work out because the other guys were like, oh, dude, yeah, man, my friends are meeting at the bar, and can we cut practice short tonight? Or can we, like, oh, I promised my girlfriend I'd go bowling. It just seemed like I was like, man, I'm living in a small town, and there's some insanely talented musicians here, but I feel like there's this weird thing that a lot of musicians get caught up in, and it sucks because I think some of the most talented people don't get heard because they have this personality trait where there's this sort of like slacker, kind of like the opposite of work ethic, where it's like, dude, being in a band just means chilling out and hanging out, sleeping in until noon and taking bong rips and then going to practice and sort of, just kind of fucking around a little bit. And it just becomes this like social thing, which is totally fine. I mean, it's great. I'm sure there's most people that play golf do it socially. They're not all trying to be golf pros. And most people that play music are probably just doing it socially too, which is totally fine. Like I said, we all started out just doing it because we were bored. But then once you get the idea that you're like, dude, I want to actually like try to pull this off, and like it would be a shame to just like do this as a hobby and play a show on Friday night in my hometown. I want to like try to get this thing on the road or make a record or like just take it to some kind of next level if there is a next level. Like I remember people in my hometown used to make fun of me. They're like, dude, what are you promoting now? Because I'd always have like a flyer or a sticker that I was like, dude, come to my show, and my attitude was like, dude, I want to get something off the ground. I want to go somewhere. I want to get the fuck out and make records and tour. And, I just had this like, I just didn't feel satisfied just chilling out. It's just the personality style, And so I'd be in these bands with people and they just didn't have that attitude. So the bands would sort of peter out, and then I went through this weird stage where I started like joining other people's bands and going like doing like touring gigs. Like the Ataris were this brand new band at the time, and they just moved to Santa Barbara, and me and the singer Chris connected, went on the road with him, and I noticed something about him. I was like, this guy is broke as a joke, and he's young, and he doesn't know shit, but he will stop at nothing, whatever he's got to do. He can't even. I remember he broke a string on his guitar. He didn't have a backup set of strings, so he just played the next night without a string, And like, I remember he lost a shoe at one point, and like he was walking around for like a day or two with only one shoe on. I'm like, this guy's fucking crazy, but he's just like single-minded, like he grew up in this like shitty little small town in Indiana, and he had this talent, and he's just like, had this one little opportunity, and he's just like, I'm running towards it. I'm going to leave everything behind, grab my guitar, and just go. And, you get a contact high off of people like that. Where you're
there's just a drive there that's like indescribable.
It's rad. I mean, it's so contagious. You're like, dude, yes, right? I totally understand. I totally feel that. And I would play with him for a while. Then I joined this band for a little while called the Swingin Utters, where they just kind of needed a bass player. Again, the story was like, I ran into them. I was in New York City randomly, and I saw them play at this old club that was there called Coney Island High. And I noticed that I had met them before, and I noticed their guitar player, Max, was playing bass. And I went up to him afterwards. I was like, dude, what happened to your bass player, Kevin? And he's like, oh, he went to grad school, and so I'm playing bass until we can figure it out. And I was like, here's my number. At the time, I was playing bass, and I was like, dude, call me up, man. I'll fill in or play for you guys if you want. And he's like, really? Seriously? And I was like, sure, go for it. And I completely forgot about it. And then a couple weeks later, I was on tour with the Ataris, and we played a show somewhat near my hometown, and we didn't have enough money to get hotel rooms back then or anything. It was like, hey, this is our last song. If anyone has a place for us to crash, just come up and see us at the merch. And, that was like how we existed. Because this one was it was like an hour away from Santa Barbara. We just like crashed at my mom's house, and I checked my like answering machine, and it's like, hey, it's Max from the Swingin Utters. Just wondering if you're still down to go on tour with us. We leave in like a week, and just wondering if you have a passport. All of a sudden, I'm like, calling them back. I'm like, dude, what songs do you want me to learn? Suddenly, I'm learning like their whole album, like off a little like CD Discman in the Atari's van with like a little acoustic guitar. I'm like learning the songs. And next thing you know, I'm on a plane, and we go to Europe and play like 50 shows.
Nice.
All over Europe. Okay, so from that, I was learning. I was like, this is how a professional, and that's just the Swingin Utters, they're a punk band, but I was like, this is how a professional band operates. I was paying attention to everything, and I was like, if I ever form another band in Santa Barbara, I'm gonna like learn from these guys, you know. So I really kind of paid attention. It was just like, it was kind of like school. I was like, I'm just gonna learn. I'm just gonna be like, you know, see how the crowds are, see what happens backstage, see how people work out problems. And they probably weren't the best example for me, because I remember we literally had 3 days of rehearsal blocked out and we only rehearsed once, you know. But I got back from that tour and I was like, you don't come back from that. You're like, now that I've felt that, I want to feel it again on a regular basis. How do I make this happen? Like I love touring. It was like confirmed. I'm playing every night in Europe, all over the place, meeting all these people, having all this amazing food, seeing all these amazing things. And I was like, you know, as if I needed more evidence that this is what I want to do with my life, you know. And I came back and I was just like, all right, I got to figure this out. And I did more touring like that. But the one thing that I kind of found was that, like, it just didn't feel as satisfying to be like playing in someone else's band. Like I felt like sort of like when someone would be asking me for an autograph or a picture, I was like, this is cool, but I didn't even play on this record. I didn't build this band. Like I'm enjoying the like fun of it, but like this isn't my thing. These are amazing guys that built this band from nothing, and like I'm getting to sort of participate in it, which is awesome. But you know, it just didn't have that pride of ownership. And so I came home from all that eventually, and I was like, so I remember verbalizing to my girlfriend at the time, I was like, I think I'm done. I know this sounds crazy because it's like all I've ever talked about or all I've ever wanted, and everyone in my hometown knows me as like the guy that just is constantly just going for it. And I'm like, I think I ran my course. I think I tried and got close a few times, and I can like now gracefully sort of bow out, hang up my cleats, and just go, all right, what else you got for me, life? You know, maybe I'll go work at a record company, or maybe I'll, you know, do something different related to music. But like, I think I'm just done grinding and being the guy in a band, you know? And literally like the week after that is when I reconnected with Tim, who I met at this show that I played earlier, like a few months earlier. I reconnected with Tim, from the singer of Sugarcult. And one day I was like, dude, you know what? If your bass player ever doesn't work out, man, you should hit me up, man. I'm kind of done playing right now, but like it'd be fun to play with you. And he's like, yeah, dude, that'd be awesome. But our bass players, you know, we're pretty stoked on him. So, and then one day he called me up and he's like, I think this band's supposed to be a 4-piece. And I was wondering if you thought you could maybe play guitar, because I just want to be in a band with you. And he didn't even know if I could play guitar. And honestly, I didn't even know if I could play guitar, because I hadn't played guitar in a band since I was like 14 and played in like a shitty neighborhood punk band. Then I switched to bass. And so he was like, would you want to try playing guitar? And I was like, kind of like, my attitude was like, well, I've already hung up my cleats as a professional musician, whatever that, aspiring professional musician. So sure, why not? This will be fun, just as sort of a distraction. It'll give me an excuse to get better at guitar. And this guy seems like I like hanging out with this guy. As soon as I got in the room with those guys, it was like another world. It was all but like, you got to do 50 push-ups if you fuck up. Like, it was so intense. Like, the work ethic was just like, we're drilling the set over and over again. Now we're going to do it with no vocals. Now we're going to do it just bass and drums. Now we're going to do it just like, look at the guitar parts. Now we're going to record the set, go outside, listen to it together, take notes on it, go back in. It was like a competition within the band of who cared about the band more. Like, you'd show up and be like, dude, I booked us a show. And someone else would be like, dude, I made t-shirts. And someone else would be like, I wrote 3 new songs. And then someone else would be like, dude, I burned 20 CDs of our recording of our song that we recorded ourselves. You know, we were just constantly like one-upping each other of what we could do to push the band forward. And any show we ever got, we just said yes to. Like, it was like, hey, do you want to play on a Tuesday night 3 hours away at like the worst time slot possible? We'll do it, you know. And you got to bring your own gear, and they're not getting paid, and you don't get any drink tickets. Fuck yeah, let's do it. Like, it was just like, what do you got? And we just kept saying yes to stuff. And then literally within a very short period of time, we got better as a band, and we started getting people's attention. And like, all of a sudden, our local shows were like packed shows. And then that starts to spill over, and like our friends down in LA, we'd go down and open for them, and then their friends we'd make friends with their friends, and they'd see us. And all of a sudden we had like record companies checking us out and all this kind of stuff, and whatever. We ended up like selling 1 million records and traveling all over the world and having hit songs on the radio. So again, the day is darkest before the dawn, right? Like just when I was basically going to give up is when things started to work out.
Well, I think a lot of that attention to detail and that willingness to just do what it took to get it done is something that maybe not everyone is willing to do.
I don't know, man. I feel like, and that's one of the reasons I enjoy teaching. You know, I've started to teach college in the past, few years, and it's actually been kind of a fun second act for me because I was on the road for so many years, and then you get all this experience, and then you go, now what? What am I supposed to do with this fucking experience? And I started doing the teaching thing, and then I started getting really good feedback. It's really weird, like pursuing the music business. Everyone's always like, how do you make it? How do you get into the music business? And my attitude is always like, dude, magnetize yourself and the music business will find you. Like it's not, who do I have to be so that they will accept me? It's do something rad yourself, and eventually they're going to, where there's smoke, there's fire. They're going to see you've started your own fire, and the music business will come along and be a force multiplier, pour gasoline on the fire and make it big. So one of my attitudes with teaching is like, I'll go in there and I tell the students, I'm just like, probably not going to, if it's cool with you, I'm probably not going to be teaching this class the way most college professors teach classes. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and like scroll through some PowerPoint presentation and then like tell you, basically regurgitate what it says in a book. I'm going to like give you like real life stories. I'm going to 90% of my whole shtick with teaching is about like work ethic, motivation, mindset, and attitude adjustment. Because I'm like, I can tell you all this shit, but like the world is an open book test. Like you can Google pretty much anything, and there's a bunch of great books. Why I'm here is to try to help you kind of give these students an attitude adjustment. Show them like, here's how to like look at it, and here's how to like maybe get out of your head and get out of your own way so that you can make something, so you can pave the way for the possibility of success.
Totally.
I think it was it's Derek Sivers, the founder of CD Baby. He said, if more information was the answer, then we'd all be billionaires with perfect abs. So it's like, dude, yeah, it's like, fuck school if the reason you go to school is to get back, get information that's behind a paywall. It's like, fuck that. You know what I mean? The reason you should go to school is to encourage you, give you some like, give you an attitude adjustment, encourage discussion, not just tell you a bunch of shit to memorize so you can regurgitate it on a test and pass the test and get a grade. I'm like, dude, no. To me, it's all connected. All the stuff I do, whether I'm playing in a band or I'm doing a DJ set, or I'm teaching college, it's all connected to the same source. The idea is like connecting with people, expressing myself. I feel almost obliged, to make it count. Even when you're in a band, it's like every show you play, you shouldn't just be like, oh, we're in Milwaukee, we'll just kind of chill because like in a couple nights from now we'll be in Chicago, or we'll, let's save ourselves for New York City a week from today. It's like you've got to be almost like an athlete where like every single time you're on the court, you run the risk of injury, you drain the reserves, you don't hold back. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I don't see like baseball players like holding back just because it's not the postseason. They're like, well, I won't try to, knock it out of the park. I'll say that.
And at the end of the season, they need each one of those wins.
Right, exactly. So it's like, it always counts. And with music, it's not the same as athletics where you don't need all those statistics, but the attitude should be like that, where it's like every time you get to do this, you don't have to do this. You have the opportunity to play a show, play that show like your life depends on it. Why wouldn't you? Why not? Like, what's the point? Like, what's the upside to phoning it in and doing a shitty job? And I think that was really a big thing with Sugarcult was I remember gathering around with Tim and Aaron and Ben, who was our original drummer. Later we got Kenny, just kind of going, look, you guys, like, let's not play this show. Even when we're playing in our hometown, let's not play this show like a local band. Let's not go on stage and like see our friend in the crowd and be like, dude, what's up, John? Like, I'm like, let's pretend we've got a tour bus parked on the back. I mean, it sounds kind of cheesy to say this, but like, let's pretend we have a tour bus parked in the back, and last night we played in San Diego, and tomorrow night we're playing in San Francisco, and this is a tour stop. Let's like hit the stage, And there's that old expression like dress for the job you want, not for the job you have.
I was just gonna say that quote.
Right. It's a great quote.
Yeah.
And that was like, it was kind of like, it's just about sort of willing this, like, kind of like conjuring up this like spirit that like, where some people would come up to us and be like, dude, it's just weird. Like, I feel like you guys are like a band that's already like famous or something. And I'd be like, that's cool. That's crazy. And then I'd be like to the guys at practice the next day, I'd be like, dude, it's fucking working. You know, it's like perception is really important. The reality is we're just a bunch of broke dudes with some shitty practice space making up dumb songs, just trying to be like Nirvana and Green Day, you know? The perception is, holy fuck, where are these guys from? Where are these guys going? You know, there's something about this band that feels different. And then we kind of carried that with us. Like, even when we started going on the Warped Tour and breaking into the outside of, you know, breaking out of our hometown, I remember, you know, I would tell the guys in our band, I was like, no one's allowed to wear shorts on stage. And I learned this from the Ramones, actually, of all the bands. You know, the Ramones had like a military discipline because Johnny Ramone was kind of a military guy. I was like, with our band, I was like, we're not wearing shorts and we're not wearing blue jeans. So you can wear black pants, you can wear gray pants, you can wear white pants, you know, and then it was like, and let's try to minimize wearing t-shirts by other bands. Even though we love all these other bands, we want to support them. You quickly see on the Warped Tour, like within like 3 days, everyone's got each other's merch on, and it's just a bunch of dudes who like grown out beards and are wearing a Motion City soundtrack shirt and like, you know, shorts and flip flops, and it just like completely destroys the fantasy. It looks like, and which is part of the fun and the charm of the Warped Tour is it's like no rock stars. But I was like, if we can be on the Warped Tour, but like dress the way we dress, like even you wear your fucking leather jacket, even though we're playing in Florida or Texas and it's hot as fuck, something is going to subconsciously trickle into people's brains that there's something about our band that's a little bit different. And that's all I want. I just want us to not be just another band, another cookie cutter band. I want us to feel like something a little bit, you know, like we'll come to the party, but I don't want to fit in. I want us to like kind of stay in our own zone. And I don't know if that, you know, you never know. In hindsight, you go, was that, you know, a good thing or a bad thing? But for me, it was just like, it keeps you feeling like you're suiting up, like as if you're like a soldier or an athlete. And that does something to your brain where like, no matter how you feel that day, like if you're having a shitty day or you didn't get good sleep or you had a fight with the people in your band or with someone, you know, in your personal life or whatever, it doesn't really matter because you're like, now I'm kind of going from Clark Kent to Superman, and like you just it helps you kind of just like be consistent every night. You're not like, well, tonight I played a shitty show because I'm having a bad day, and tomorrow I'm going to play a great show because I'm having a great day. It's just like every night we're going to play a constant, like awesome show. Of course, there's going to be some naturally that are better than others, depending on the environmental factors, you know, the sound of the place, the monitor mix. You can sort of control that environment to some degree and deliver a consistent thing. So I think that helped us a lot too.
Thinking of the attitude adjustment that you mentioned before, I wanted to ask, when you have been told no, how do you stay motivated and persevere through to continue on, you know, driving forward?
When it comes to your career or your aspirations in life, sometimes no does mean not yet. And I remember like when, for example, the one thing I actually learned in college, there'd be a class I needed, and I was like making a record while I was in college. So I was trying to like finish up, as you know, I didn't want to like have it drag on forever. There was a class I needed, and it was it was filled up, and so I'd go to the class, and the teacher would be like, "Yeah, the class is full. Sorry, I'll have to take it next semester." And I'm like, "Well, I want to take it now. Is there like a waiting list, like in case someone drops?" I'm like, "Yeah, hate to say it, but the waiting list is full too." And I'd be like, "Oh man, well," and they're like, "Look, dude, it's not going to happen." And I'm like, "Okay." And then I would just go, and I would just like go to the lecture and take notes and learn the stuff and do the assignments. And then I'd go to their office hours, like every time they had the office hour. And they would be like, "Dude, I told you you're not getting in, and this class is closed." And I was like, "Yeah, but I already did all the stuff." And then they're like, "Dude, you're taking this class more seriously than half the kids that are in this fucking class."
But here's the thing. I'm hearing you say the same thing as with Sugarcult is you were willing to do the things above and beyond that not everyone else would do. You know, and that's why I think you've been able to like push through and see the success that you have.
I think you nailed it. I think that's exactly it. And is it's not enough to just do what's expected. It's to do above and beyond what's expected. If you just meet the expectation, then I mean, there's another great quote. I don't know who said it, but if you want to be extraordinary, you can't be ordinary. I mean, think about the word extraordinary. If you put it together, you got the word extraordinary. So you're not going to be extraordinary if you just do it the most ordinary way. So it's just that sort of attitude of like, why not make it extra rad? If you're gonna make dinner, have fun and make dinner like with joy and with like, flair. If you're gonna be in a band, go for it. If you're gonna have a podcast, if you're gonna make a movie, if you're gonna write a book, if you're gonna teach a class, like just sort of bring that into all the elements of your life. And there's always gonna be a million reasons. What I found is there's always way more reasons, way more resistance than there is encouragement. Like, it can be like, oh yeah, dude, you should probably not try and be in a band because 99% of the bands that go out there and do it fail. That sucks. And I already know that I'm not the best musician in my hometown or the best musician in my neighborhood. Probably not even the best musician in this podcast. You know what I mean? So it's very easy there's always a surplus of reasons why you shouldn't do something. Because you suck, because someone else is better, because no one cares, because what does it matter, because the odds are stacked against you. There's always that. But I found that like, it's like I guess it's kind of like a war of attrition. Like you sort of have to stay in the game. Yeah, there's a really long line to get on this ride. But what happens is some people have to pee. Some people have to leave. Some people have to go feed their meter. The line gets shorter, not because more people get to go on the ride, but because most people give up. Because they're fucking smart. And they're fucking rational. You know what I mean? So it's the stubborn motherfuckers like us that just keep on hanging out. And while they're in line, we're learning. We're talking to each other. We're asking questions. We're going, dude, when you go on this ride, what's the best car to go? And eventually you get to the top front of the line. You're like, dude, I'm going on the front car of this roller coaster and I'm going to keep my hands up the whole time and keep my eyes open because I'm on this ride right now. And that's what I did with Surgarcult because I had gone on the ride a few times I rode along with the Swingin Utters. I did this other thing, but I kind of kept my eyes closed and I assumed, oh, I'm in now. This is cool. I get to be a rock star. And I didn't take enough pictures. I didn't really kind of like savor it as much. So with Sugarcult, once we got to do it, it was like, okay, I started out not even thinking this was going to be anything more than just a fun thing to do for just until I find my next move. And then once we actually started getting traction and I saw the work ethic of the band, I was like, all right, all in, let's go for it. Let's really do this and let me savor it. We're never going to be like sitting backstage, staring at the wall. We're going to be out there seeing stuff. We're never going to sit in the tour bus, complaining about the fucking catering and like playing video games. We're going to be out there meeting fans and meeting bands and having fun and doing stuff and just making the most of the experience because that like, hey, I would love this to go on forever, but maybe it won't. Maybe this is all that will ever happen for our band. And if so, I want to totally savor it and enjoy it and make the most of it and make sure that in retrospect, anyone who says they saw Sugarcult play, most people I find, because I've run into a lot of people now that are like in their 30s and they were like teenagers when they saw us and they're like, dude, you guys should have been so much bigger. Or they go, you guys put on such a fucking great show. And I run into people from other bands, like bands that we respect that are like, they have good things to say. And it's a good feeling. Not that you do it for that. You don't do it for that ego hit, but like at the same time, it doesn't hurt. It's like it's a good feeling to know that like you're respected by your peers and like people that love music that are fans, they saw that. They were like, you guys were just the opening band, but you upstaged the headliners, and that's kind of rad. You're like, okay, cool. We did and again, it's not because we're so valiant and so great. It's mostly because we have like an inferiority complex and we're like, we snuck into this party, and sooner or later it's like imposter syndrome, right?
Yeah.
We snuck into this party. Sooner or later, they're gonna figure out that we're not supposed to be here. They're gonna call security and fucking use our heads to open the doors and throw us back onto the alley. Let's have as much fucking caviar with Paris Hilton as possible before they figure out that we're not supposed to be here, right? And so that was just always the attitude. It was never like this sense of entitlement, like, well, of course we're here. Of course we get to be in a band. Of course we're on MTV. Of course we have songs on the radio. It was always like this, holy shit, we fucking pulled it off the great rock and roll swindle. We pulled this off. This is insane. So, yeah, like I said, with the college thing, I would go and the teacher would eventually, and this happened like 3 times, dude, where the same story, where like the class was closed and I got in because I just kept going, and the teacher was like, all right, don't tell anybody I'm gonna do this for you, just because you're working harder for this shit than the people who are actually enrolled in this class. They're taking it for granted. And I'm like, thanks, man, I appreciate it. And then I would just like do a good job, and I was like, because I don't want to let the person down. They're taking a chance on me, and that's kind of the way I saw it. I know this sounds really glib, but the way I saw it with like our band, once we started getting out there, and radio station that would play our song, they would say, oh, would you guys come and play our radio festival or come and do like the morning show? Of course, you're taking a chance on us. The least we can do is come fucking do that thing. The same thing with the fans. Hey, you're taking a chance on our band. You're paying for a ticket and coming to see us play. I want to fucking, make it worth their while. They're taking a chance on us. I want to make it worth their while. I've always had this attitude with like work, where I will work my ass off. I won't work for what you're paying me. I will work for as if you're paying me twice as much as you're paying me. But I want to be getting paid in something, in a currency in addition to money. I'll take the money, but I need to feel like the money is icing on the cake. If the money is the cake, then what the fuck are we doing this for? You can't take it with you when you go. So like, I need to be, in addition to the money, I need to be making an impact. I need to be making memories. I need to be making a difference. I need to be making people think. You play music, you don't work music. And so like, I look at it like that. Like, I remember before Sugarcult took off, I was working at a record store part-time, getting paid under the table cash. And I had an offer to work full-time at like a job that would have used my college degree and all that kind of stuff, and be making like 3 times as much money. And I was like, no, I'm going to take the job that keeps me hungry. I want the job that keeps me hungry. And also, I'm going to be working at a record store, so I'm going to be around music all day. I'm going to be using it as a chance to pass out stickers and flyers for my band, promote my band. I'm going to be observing how a record store works. I'm going to learn. It's an education. I'm learning how that part of the music industry works. So I'm also getting paid some money. But it's not paying me so much money that I'm going to be like getting my own place with my own flat screen TV and my own nice car, because I don't want to be comfortable, because I see my friends that I grew up with that are comfortable, and the first thing they do is cut off their guitar strings, cut off their hair, and cut off their fucking dreams. And I didn't want to do that. I was like insurance. I was like, I want to stay a little bit broke so that I still have the like energy to like go for it with my band. I also want to, I want to save some energy for that too. I want to be able to play a show on a Wednesday night and not feel like, oh shit, I got to be at work at 8 a.m. now, because that's just like that. I can see how that story ends, because I watched it happen with a lot of people in my hometown, where I was like, that person, like eventually the band just gets pushed off to the side and becomes this sort of like little like weekend warrior sort of, side dish, which is fine, but like it wasn't what I was going for.
All right, man. So to wrap this up, is there anything that you want to plug or talk about before we go?
Well, it's Sugarcult. It's the 20-year anniversary of our first record. So we're doing all this exciting stuff. If you go to sugarcult.com, you can learn about it. We have a limited edition vinyl. It might be sold out now, but like we did a limited edition vinyl pressing of like a 20-year anniversary edition with some bonus features on it and bonus tracks. It's going to be coming out digitally, so like it'll be on like Spotify and Apple Music and all that as of October 8th. So I'm not sure when this is dropping, but so look for that. Sugarcult Start Static 20-year anniversary. The Bad Astronaut box set just came out. It's been a really weird year. I think post-pandemic, post-2020 was like this weird time where you're just like, all right, I'm going to take all the things I've ever done and like put out the like commemorative edition of it. And I feel like at the age I am now, it's sort of serendipitous that all that reflection time happened, because I was able to put out like we worked on this 20-year anniversary Sugarcult package, this Bad Astronaut box set. This other band I had, actually at the same time when I first met Joe, I have this flyer for you, show you my roots. Look at the opening bands for us. My band was called Popsico.
Nice.
We had Joe Sibb's old band Wax, this other little band that I just saw at Dodger Stadium with Green Day the other night called Weezer, and then Green Thumb, which was Chris Shiflett and his brother Scott, with Josh Freese, who now plays in played in a million bands, great drummer. And then my old band was the one where our singer died. So we took Popsico, had made a record, and that was the band I was in while I was in college. We had made a record, and then no one ever really heard it because our singer died 2 weeks before it came out. And so this label is putting out the limited edition vinyl of our Popsico record off to Bad Astronaut. So that's going to be coming out soon. And Popsico stuff is slowly being made available digitally. There's a two-song single on digital right now, and then another one's coming out in like a month or two. So Popsico, Surgarcult 20-year anniversary, Bad Astronaut, a lot of cool stuff. And then, I feel like it's necessary at this stage of life to sort of like push that stuff, sort of clear out the past so that I can clear the path for the future. And there's all kinds of stuff on the horizon. We'll see. I don't want to jinx it, but I've been working on a book. I'm going to be doing some stuff with Fat Mike's new punk rock museum in Vegas. And there's it's an interesting time, because you get to this certain stage of life where you have probably just, knock on wood, I probably have just about if all goes as planned, I probably have, about as much time in front of me as I have behind me. But as far as valuable, like actual years where you can make stuff happen still, because I think the life has a weird arc. Like you're a baby, you're a little kid, and then at some point you become this like really old person. And both of those stages, there's not too much you can do,
Yeah.
You're kind of at the mercy of people taking care of you. So like there's this kind of arc in between, and I'm right around here, you know what I mean? So it's like, it can be very tempting to live your whole life in retrospect, where you're just like, you have so much cool stuff that you did, that you were a part of from the past, and you just keep on like celebrating your glory days forever until, And I think that's a dangerous thing to do. I think it's important to keep to honor the stuff you've done and to keep it alive. And but I think it's also important to keep moving forward and challenging yourself in new ways. And that's again what keeps things. I mean, that's like our friend Joe, how he's kind of transitioned into a stand-up comic, And all of a sudden you forget that he was a singer for like 20 years and a label owner. And so I think it's important to keep reinventing yourself, building on yourself. Like I said, all of these things come from the same source. So it's like you just keep on like finding new ways to express it that feel more authentic to who you are today. Like I'm not going to express things today in my 40s the same way I expressed it when I was 20, because it would feel kind of disingenuous. You have to kind of, I think it's important to not deny the things you've learned and not deny where you are in life and what and then it would be selfish to keep that all to yourself. It's like, so again, that's one of the reasons I love teaching college. You're able to like ignite these like young hearts where there's like people that are like 19 or 20 and they're just like, they have all the talent, all the will, all the energy, but they're just like, fuck, dude, where do I start? And you just kind of go, look, dude, I can't tell you exactly how to do it. You can't do it the exact way I did it, but I can help you find the answer within yourself.
Shape that focus.
Yeah, shape that focus. Dude, thank you so much for this.
Man, thank you so much for coming on with me. Thank you so much for listening today. Please subscribe to the Artist Work Ethic podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts, and please rate and review the show. Follow us on Instagram at The Artist's Work Ethic, and check out theartistsworkethic.com.